the Northern Creative Youth project, which is NoCry2, which is actually hosting this day for the 2 workshops. It's for young entrepreneurs like yourselves, who are seen as entrepreneurs in music. And we have Andrew Ferris from Small Town America, who's going to give you a chat this morning on entrepreneurship in music.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Richard. Cheers. Good morning. Yes, my name is Andrew Ferris. At some points, if you do have a pen and a piece of paper, I would get them out now, because at some points during today, I'll say you really should write this down, because whilst I'll give the slides from today's slide deck to Richard and Marty, I often find that when I go to these things, you say, oh, look at the slides afterwards, but you kind of never do, and I think there'll probably be key little bits that I can say, if you write this down and you take 10 things away from today maybe, it'll be worthwhile for you. And so I'll signify those as we go along. Don't know what they are yet, but we'll soon find out. The first thing really to write down would be my email address, because we're all in this together. And so if you have follow-up questions that you would like to ask me, then you can do so by all means. Okay, so I am a musician first and foremost, and I play guitar and sing and write songs, and this is why I got into the music business. So I decided that when I was in this band, I was still in this band, that the best thing that I could do would be to release my own records, because 2 reasons. Number one, I didn't think anybody was going to give me a record deal, but more importantly, I just wanted to do something that was unfettered by anyone else's opinion. I wanted to be independent and make my own decisions. I wanted to be creatively brave, and I didn't think that record companies 11 years ago now would let me do that. And so with my writing partner, we set up Small Town America really as just a name of a thing to put out a CD. But from there, it's really grown into quite a large business now, with 4 separate companies under its umbrella. It's got Small Town America Records, Small Town America Music Publishing. We run a commercial recording studio, and we have a digital distribution business called independentmusic.com. And so it's like a DIY kind of iTunes. So quite large. There's a total staff, if you include volunteers and freelance regulars, of 22, and 5 full-time members of staff split across 2 centres, 3 in the Derry office, which is in Clarendon Street. Actually, we used to have a small office in the Nerve Centre here whenever I first moved back to London. And then a second office in the Oh Yeah Centre, the music centre in Belfast. What do we do? Well, what do I do? We make great music. We manufacture it, we promote it, and our main job is reaching fans. So today is going to be split into 3 parts. The first part is going to be a little bit about me, really, and what I do day to day, because that might be of interest to some of you in the room. Certainly not of interest to me, because I have to do it, but it might be helpful to see what someone who works full-time in the music business in Northern Ireland on your doorstep actually does physically every day, and what that means for me. The second part of it is about what my workflow is. So you'll be familiar with the term workflow in terms of producing a piece of film or a piece of music, but what my workflow and my job is like. And the third part of it is how that has changed with the advent of the internet. So I've been doing this for a long time, 19 years. I've been releasing records and promoting music, and so I've seen all those changes happen. And we'll have a little breakout activity, and you'll get into pairs or groups of 3, whatever suits you. And we'll have a discussion around social media marketing in the second half of today. We'll have a little break for 5-10 minutes. The first part of it really is about money, because whilst you're all here and studying very hard to get a noble qualification in either music technology or production or performance, that's fine. But really what we all need to be are self-starting, entrepreneurial type people if we're ever going to make any money at doing this. So let's look at the different attributes that the music industry actually offers a person like me or you today, and where we can get most of our money. The first thing, if you're a performing musician, would be live work. It's the single biggest income driver in your career, and because it brings in the most amount of money, it gives you the most amount of leverage with which to do other things. If you're a performing live artist, you know this anecdotally anyway, how much you're going to make from selling a CD. Well, after your manufacturing costs, what, quid, 2 quid, 6 quid if it's an album. But from a show, you know, from a beginning band of 50 quid a night up to, you know, regionally, £700-800 for a well-attended, well-run, well-promoted show. So that money gives you leverage with which to do other things. So live is incredibly important. And whether or not you see your career as just a writer, perhaps, live is still important. Why might that be important? Anyone hazard a guess? If I was just a songwriter, why would live be important to me?
You have to understand what people want to hear.
Absolutely, but in terms of making money, this is all about money, this first 20 minutes.
Royalties.
Royalties, yes, because I always say to someone who's a songwriter, a budding songwriter, is that get yourself hooked up with a band that's on the road and touring all the time. Because if they play one of your songs, or even if they're not playing it every night, they include it in their set list, the PRS and IMRO income from that live collection goes straight to you as a songwriter. So take a young band under your wing, help them get out in the road, get your songs out in the road, because a song that the audience can hear can tap into public consciousness, and then it gets covered by other people and other people. So live is incredibly important, whether or not you're a live musician, okay? Sales are very important. So with piracy coming in, obviously CD sales, as we knew them, have been decimated. Can anyone hazard a guess or know what level we're at in a percentage term as to where we were 8 years ago with CD sales? Does anyone have a guess? So you reckon we're 20% of where we're at? Anybody else?
5.
10, 5, all very, very low numbers. The actual percentage is 67% of where we were. Okay, so whilst piracy is important and the music industry has lost a lot of CD sales and physical sales because of it, it's not as much as you might think. And the reason that these scare stories are there, you have to think about the politics behind that. Who's actually seeding these stories? In whose interest is it to sort of keep internet pirates down? Well, it's other people like internet service providers who want us to reduce the amount of bandwidth that we consume, but also the wider music industry, the corporate music industry that depends on this residual income on catalogue sales. So new music is still as strong as ever, okay, but it's the catalogue sales that have been decimated. Things like Stevie Wonder records and Prince albums, and this is why all these people are now going out on tour, because they understand that live income is what is going to boost that residual.
That's why concert prices have gone up.
Absolutely. Have they ever? You know, I don't know what this isn't my area of expertise. I don't run an agency, and I'm not a promoter of gigs. I think that's good luck to anyone who wants to go into that side of the business.
You have expensive gigs, it's going to get nothing here. You really see it when you're out. Somebody charging 90 a year and a half ago, I would charge them 60 now because people are just not going to pay it anymore.
Yeah. So royalties would be another huge driver of income, and there are 3 royalties that you need to preoccupy yourself, and this is where I would get your pen out and write these down. The first one is broadcast income for songwriters, and that comes from PRS and other agencies, but let's just call it PRS for now. So that's for songwriters. I'll describe these all in detail. MCPS, which is the Mechanical Copyright Protection Society, and that's for the mechanical income of owners of sound recordings. Very important if anyone wants to be a producer in the room, and I'll discuss that in detail. And then PPL is for the owners and performers on sound recordings. So I'll explain what each of these mean in turn. PRS is relatively easy to understand. They collect lots of royalty streams, but the main one that they collect are public performance royalties, and they distribute it to the songwriter. So if me, Andrew Ferris, I've written a song. What's your name?
Shane.
Me and Shane have written a song. We own 50% of the song each. We get a spin on daytime Radio 1. 50 quid goes to PRS. They collect that for that spin. And you get 25 quid and I get 25 quid, more or less. There's lots of deductions there on, but that's the kind of long and short of it. So PRS, the collection of public broadcast royalties. Whether or not you are a very active songwriter, you should register all your works with PRS because they have a large pot of uncollected society income every year which gets distributed on a pro rata basis to all the songwriters in their catalogue. So that means that if at the end of the year they've got 700 grand that has not been distributed, that gets divided equally between all the writers in the catalogue. So whether or not you've had any spins on Radio 1, you'll still enjoy a little bit of PRS income just by signing up to it. PRS used to be free, and then they charged, and then it was free for a while, and now I think it's 50 quid to join. There's another collection society of which I'm a member, but I don't advocate any one society over the other. Speak to them all, and that's called IMRO, that's the Irish Musicians' Rights Organisation, and that's based in Dublin, and they do exactly the same thing. All these societies like ASCAP, BMI, CSAC in North America, IMRO, PRS, they're all businesses, right? They're not charities, they're not government bodies, they're not bound by any legislature other than their own, so make your own choice as to which one you want to sign up to. And it's not a choice for life. You can... I think that's yours. No worries. It's not a choice for life. You can chop and change, you know, if you need to. It's currently something I'm thinking about for my own catalogue of material, is moving it out of IMRO and back into PRS's hands. MCPS, slightly more difficult animal to understand. Mechanical copyright royalty. Every time a CD gets manufactured, okay, the manufacturer of that CD needs to pay a mechanical royalty to the songwriters who own the material. And they also need to pay a mechanical royalty to the person who owns the audio recording. Those two things may be separate. So for example, I as a record label might own the master rights in the recording, but Shane owns the rights to that song. So the mechanical royalty, there's two at play, they get distributed thereon. And it's based, for a CD, it used to be very, very convenient, it's based on a thing called PPD, which is dealer price to shops. And so on a CD, it used to be about 85 pence on every CD that was manufactured, had to be paid as a mechanical royalty. Okay, so mechanical royalties. So if you get a record deal, and you as the writer, and they make 10,000 CDs, you know, it's 10,085s with some deductions. Then PPL, that broadcast income goes to the owners and the performers on the sound recording. Now this is very important, and it's slightly complex, and I'll try and understand, I'll try and describe it to you. You get a spin on Radio 1, Shane and I get 25 quid. Okay, but we don't own the master rights in the actual recording of that. We're just the songwriters. There is another separate 50 quid that the BBC pay to PPL, and that goes to the owner of the sound recording. Okay, so that's the person who owns, if you like, the master tapes. You with me on that? Okay, so 50 quid goes to the writers, and 50 quid goes to the guy that owns the master tapes. Now it may be that you are both of those people, in which case if you are registered with PRS and with PPL, you collect both those strands of income. But more often, the writers are the writers and the record label is the record label, so the record label collects that 50 quid and the writers get their share. There's another little handy bit that PPL collect, and it's for the performers on the master recording. And this is designed to protect, like the guy who does the horn part on Aretha Franklin's Respect, right? As a named writer on that master recording, he gets a small residual royalty every time that's played, because that was brought into being to protect professional musicians who may not be writers, but have had a significant role in the recording. Like the guy who plays the bass line in Walk on the Wild Side by Lou Reed, you know, very famous bass line. He gets paid a little bit as being a named performer. I mention all these things. They may not be immediately appropriate in your life and in your career, but I mention them all because they are real streams of income, and what you must do is don't do what I did and forget about all this until it becomes important. You must keep a catalogue of everything that you work on as a producer. Be very clear about who owns the master recording. So for example, if you're recording a demo with a band, right, you're working for free, conceivably. Who owns that master recording? Is it you, as the recorder, the recordist, or is it the band? Be very clear about that and upfront with them, because it just may so happen that that's the next Snow Patrol, and those demo recordings become incredibly valuable. And maybe it's in your interest if you say to the band, yeah, I'm going to work on these for free, but these tapes are mine. And they'll go, oh, because two things will happen. They'll immediately value your time more, and they might take it more seriously. So everyone wins. So keep a catalogue of all the things that you work on, and also all the things that you write on, and all the things that you perform on. 3 things: work on, write on, and perform on. And sort out, if Shane and I wrote a song, Shane might have come in with the verse and the chorus. Cahir and Johnny will talk about this in more detail later this afternoon. You might have written the verse and the chorus, and I've just written the middle 8. What does that mean? Does that mean it's still 50-50? Or would you be disgruntled about that? When that 100 quid comes in, I'm getting 50 quid for writing a middle 8 or a bridge. That could be a problem, and things like that have ended up in court, famously with the Smiths, where the bass player and the drummer took Johnny Marr and Morrissey to court because they felt that they should have been enjoying a greater share of the songwriting royalties, because some of the things that they did on those master recordings were pivotal. So all that, you should work it all out, keep a record of everything, sign up to these services. If you need to pay for them because they're incredibly important. It elevates your own presence as like a professional music person, because you're registered with these bodies. You get to understand them, and then you can engage them when they become appropriate for your career. I stuck around a lot on royalties just because it's a difficult animal to understand, but it's real income.